Good day, Cochrane. Welcome to another edition of Fireside Chat with Mayor Jeff Genung. This is, I am Mayor Jeff Genung, and today we're coming live from the, pre-recorded, I guess, for most of you, but from the garden in the courtyard of the ranch house. So I've been getting some comments, if you've been watching, about the state of the fireplace. So we thought we'd liven it up a little bit with some fresh flowers out here, and hopefully the rain holds off. But before we get started on last night's council meeting, I thought I would just touch base on a very important groundbreaking ceremony that we had yesterday down by the river. Really happy to announce that the bridge is underway. We kicked it off yesterday with as I said, a groundbreaking ceremony. We had some Treaty 7 nations people in attendance. Irene Baptiste was an elder that attended and did some prayers for us from the Stoney Nakoda, and we had Hal Eagletail and his daughter do some drumming and singing and led us in a bit of a ceremony from the Tsuut'ina Nation, and gave us a little bit of a history lesson on what this area means to them and their people and the history. And it was very interesting and very appropriate, I thought, to have them obviously involved, and very exciting to finally get our bridge underway. We've been talking about it forever. Dates back to when I was on council in 2002, where I personally sat on the bridge committee to talk about where the bridge should be and how we should fund it. So it's very fitting for me, and I've come full circle. I feel that we can finally announce the beginning of the construction of the bridge. So just before we got going, I thought it was appropriate that we talked about that. So watch on Facebook. You have your opportunity to name the bridge. Go to letstalkcochrane.ca, and we have an online place where you can put your vote in for the naming of the bridge. So we're hoping to have that done by the end of the year. But yeah, so exciting to have that bridge started. And so watch down by the rec center, the second traffic circle, for crews to be starting down there and getting started in the river to put the first foundation in place. And hopefully over the next couple of years we'll see some, well, not hopefully, we will see some concrete come out of the water. And in 2 years' time we'll be doing a fireside chat announcing first cars across the bow on Cochrane's new bridge. So very exciting. So let's get back into the talk of last night's council meeting. Fairly thick one again. Heavy topics of conversation last night at council. There was quite a few people in the gallery. We started off with two delegations. The first delegation was from FCSS, and it was the United Way, and they were giving us a report about the partnership they have with FCSS and the $120,000 that they gave away last year to 12 community agencies, which are improving outcomes for Cochrane and area residents. So we got a report on the 12 agencies that they gave money to, what they're using that money for, and it was good to see the great work that that group continues to do in our community. Next, we heard from the Off-Leash Advocacy Group. I'm going to call them OLAG now because I have trouble with that word advocacy. But Off-Leash Advocacy Group, OLAG, came and gave us a presentation on their desire to see more off-leash areas in Cochrane. Specifically, I commended them last night on their approach. They're not argumentative, they're not complaining, they're not trying to change what's been done. They're just having a voice in a positive way to help bring awareness to dog parks in Cochrane. They gave us a report on what their findings were. They've been doing some polls on their Facebook page. They've been doing some research on their own, and they would like to see an off-leash area built in Sunset and Fireside. So we took that as information last night, and of course we'll send it off to the Parks and Rec Committee for a decision to come back to council at a later date. So thank you to those 2 delegations for coming forward. Next, we moved into bylaws, and bylaws was where we spent pretty much the entire rest of the evening. We talked first about Willows West land use bylaw amendment, which was change being requested by the developer up there to go from RCL, which is a cluster type land use, to go to R2, which is a decrease in density. There was a bit of discussion from council last night on whether that was a good idea or not, but ultimately council voted in favor of the amendment. So that change went through last night for Willows West, so there will be some development happening there. It was already pre-approved by the past council. This was just a change to some of the land use around the wetland in Willows West. So ultimately, the developer was looking to go from one development into another and have like residential buildings against like residential buildings, so there would be a seamless transition between residents, and then moving down into around the wetland, which would be their next phase of the subdivision. They will see that RCL, or the cluster developments, really utilizing and protecting that wetland in Willows West. So that went through. The next piece of conversation was about Glen Eagles. Of course, council's been getting a lot of emails. I have personally too, about the Jones Estate property, is what it's being kind of coined as. This has come before prior councils a couple of times and turned down both at first readings. So last night we kind of had to, I did a little preamble before the decision was tabled, that first reading really means that council is just starting the process. It is not a vote in favor or a vote against anything. This was just to get the process started for that area. There is a new landowner and a new application being tabled, and the request was to bring it before council. So last night council voted in favor of first reading and set the public hearing for that for I believe September 10th, which people can come and give their opinions and weigh in via email or Facebook, whatever way you want to get through to council to have your voice heard on what you would like to see or not see done on that property. So again, council voted in favor of first reading to just begin the process to for us as a new council to hear this for the very first time. So it's kind of it's what we have to do to get things out into the public so that people can tell us what they feel. Some may feel like we're wasting time, but there are implications and risks for us to not give first reading to any kind of bylaw. It's really, like I said, just getting the process started. So that has started. We'll be probably taking a lot of feedback over the summer here, and then we'll get the final public hearing on September 10th, and then move to a decision following that. So that was Glen Eagles. Next, very large topic of conversation that has been in the community for at least 2 years that I'm aware of was the Greystone area structure plan. Greystone is the development that is being proposed around in the old Burnco gravel pit area. The area structure plan was the framework that council works on. It's a statutory document that we're required by any landowner when they come forward with a big development like this to do an area structure plan, which provides the framework of how generally the area would get developed over time. Council discussed it back and forth for quite some time, and I'm personally pleased to see that this is going ahead. And I made it clear last night in my debate, and I want to just say this again today on the Fireside chat, that this is important for Cochrane's future. This is a central centrally located development that is utilizing existing infrastructure, roadways, pipes, water. It's inside, obviously, in the middle of our community, close to our downtown. We'll tie together the rec center, close proximity to the new bridge that I had just spoken about, Griffin Road, River Avenue, all areas that are in need of a bit of obviously a facelift. We're basically voted last night to take it from industrial gravel pit rockland is what it's called, to a new vibrant tax producing community that will be in Cochrane for generations. So my view of how council should be viewing the world is we should be looking into the future, we should be visionaries, and to me this is a step in that direction. This does not mean, however, that we are adding more development to Cochrane in the immediate future. This does not mean that we're having cars on our roads on a bridge that we haven't completed yet. This does not mean that we're using up water that we are still looking for another water license to add to our own. All of these things we talked about last night, and they're all important topics. But the area structure plan really only puts the framework in place for future development. So that was voted through. It was close. It was 4-3. And then we moved down a layer in the development scheme framework into a neighborhood plan for that same area structure plan. So the area structure plan was all of the land in that area, including some of the Spray Lake Sawmill land, the Grand Central Properties strip right along the top of Griffin Road. There's a strip all along the river where the campground is, and Rocky View County owns some land. And then the area in the center was the Burnco lands. So the area structure plan covered all of that. Now the neighborhood plan zooms in a little bit and is now talking about just the Burns West land, which is just the gravel pit area. So this is now Burns West coming forward with a neighborhood plan for just that portion. So council discussed that last night as well. Some of the same topics of conversation came up about have we heard from the public? Have we heard that we have a traffic issue, that we don't want our downtown clogged with more buildings? So my view again on this is that the neighborhood plan is again putting in a little more detail into what could be there or what will be there, but what council still has the tool left in our toolbox, and the ultimate control over that area is land use. And land use is where the developer now will come back to council and say, I would like to see residential here, commercial there, I want R1, so high density, low density, and how the exact neighborhood is going to get built, and whether it's residential or single family here or business park over there. So council still can control the phasing of when things get built and how fast, and that is the tool that I would like to utilize to control the amount of residents that will be in that area until we do have our work done on infrastructure. We do have a clear timeline on the exact date the bridge will be done. We will have improvements on Center Avenue. We'll know how the areas are going to look and how things are going to fall in regards to infrastructure. As far as putting residents in there, for me, a big step forward was that I've heard from the community that we need more commercial space, we need more places for our businesses to grow. I've been talking lots about having attracting more tech and more commercial sector to Cochrane. Well, we need places for them to build. So a large portion of this development will be commercial, and it will be all along the area of Griffin Road as you go down and wind down to the rec center. So all of these plans I'm sure will be on Facebook or on our website, and you can take a closer look at them. But for me, it's important that we get get some commercial going as soon as we can to offset our tax base from so much reliance on residential, spill some of that into the business sector and help them pay for some of the things that we're getting. Obviously, this area will contribute a lot of off-site levies to road improvements that we've been talking about and that we're going to do. So very important decisions last night. So the neighborhood plan was tabled by council. We have added a list that we are sending administration back to say we want this to be tweaked. We'd like more connectivity. We're talking about trails and where they will be inside this development. We asked them to go back and revisit the phasing plan. So just what I talked about. Will there be commercial first or will it be residential first? We would like to see more commercial first. So administration is going to go back now, meet with the development group that is bringing this forward and ask them to make the amendments to the neighborhood plan, which will come back to council. So lots of discussion. I hopefully captured that so people can understand better. It's very intricate discussions about things, but this is a long-lasting development that will be in Cochrane for generations, like I said, so it's important that we get it right. I feel that, and this is what Councillor McFadden said last night, that we have the potential for this to be an award-winning development in the interior of our community. So, and I share that with her, that the plaza they're talking about, the type of development they're doing is unique to Cochrane. It's something that we're missing in my view. So how we do it and how we phase it is important, and like I said, we need to get this right. So that was pretty much what we talked about at the council meeting last night. Hopefully that's been informative to you. It's been awesome coming to you from the garden at the ranch house. Hopefully the color to it added a little more spunk to the conversation today as we dive into planning and the exercises that council is faced with. So again, thank you for joining me on the garden side chat, and I'm glad the rain held off today. So until next time, ciao.